Make sure I get all my labs done, everything tested before I even start the process. So supplement, I was put on coenzyme and come up with a plan A, plan B, plan C. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about things that helped me in my IVF journey. So you would have seen my first part of my IVF journey where, I'm talking about the whole preparation towards the egg retrieval process. But before I start sharing about how the egg retrieval went or, how the transfer prep and transfer went, I thought I'll share some of the things that helped me with the IVF journey just because I get these questions so much on Instagram. There's a lot to share, to be very honest with you, and IVF can be a very overwhelming journey. Once you start the process, there are so many unknowns, and if you don't know someone who's gone through the process, the support can be very thin and, the process can be very isolating. And, we hear so many things, all wise tale, do this, do that. You don't really know what to follow, right? So, I had to learn a lot of things on my own. I would read a lot of things online. I didn't know what to believe, what not to believe. So I just thought I'll compile a few things that really helped me in my journey. When I started my journey, and I didn't know a lot of people who went through it. Honestly, I didn't have someone to chat to. And that's the very reason I kind of share all of this information so that someone who's going through it doesn't feel so isolated and, they have someone to kind of connect with and talk to. So before full emo and chatty mode, let me start this video. So the first thing that really helped me in the IVF process is to get a clear picture of what my situation was and what I needed to fulfill the gaps in my journey. So I got very lucky to have a great RE, very good doctor, fertility doctor, who made sure I get all my labs done, everything tested before I even start the process. So she did my full blood and urine work to see if I needed any kind of intervention in terms of supplements or any kind of surgery, just to make sure that my success rate for IVF was as high as it could be possible. When I did my labs, there were a few challenges that came up and, that had to be fixed. In terms of supplement, I was put on coenzyme, I was put on vitamin D, and I started my prenatals. These are some of the things that I was started on even before I started my IVF journey, just so that my body is prepped. Apparently vitamin D and thyroid levels are very important for the IVF journey. So it's important that you get your lab tested, and if you're deficient in it, you kind of start that on. Again, I'm not a medical expert, I'm not a doctor, so everything I say is just my experience. Take it with a pinch of salt. Consult your doctor because your body situation, your levels could be very different from mine. So it's very, very important that you have this conversation with your doctor. But knowing your unknowns is the best thing you can do for yourself in the IVF process. So get your labs done, get yourself tested. I think that gave me a lot of clarity on what I lacked and what my plan would be. And like I said, take the supplements, whatever, make sure you're eating it regularly. It's your levels of different things in your body is very, very important. So take that part seriously. The next thing is just coming up with a plan, which kind of ties to the first thing, right? When you know your unknowns, you can actually sit with your doctor and come up with a plan A, plan B, plan C. Okay, what if it doesn't work in the first round? Can we do a second round of IVF? Can we do a third round of IVF? To what extent can we push ourselves? Again, you need to know that IVF is a very unpredictable process and a lot changes during the process. So what you may expect is not what you get. So it's always good to have some plan, but at the same time, be prepared for things that you can't predict, which all boils down to coming with a plan with your doctor and trusting your doctor more than anything. And that would probably be my third point, right? I think what I see in a lot of people who go through the IVF process, they're either told they're not good candidates for IVF, or the IVF protocol is not up to date, or the IVF protocol is not as streamlined, it doesn't work for them, or that the team that they're working with is not on top of the process. So it's very important to find a doctor with whom you have a chemistry, and someone who is really invested in your journey, is very invested in your process, and kind of rooting for you, right? Because trust is very important in the IVF process. If you cannot trust your doctor or team, it's going to be a very difficult journey. I went to RSC, Reproductive Science Center. I was assigned Dr. Eisman, who I trusted my life with everything. She was just amazing, which gave me so much confidence and so much relief that I was putting the most important thing of my life in her hands and I was in a good place. Now, whether things worked out or not, that was a very different issue, but I knew she would make the best decision for me. So my point is, get a team that you can trust. Otherwise, the process will get very, very difficult. The next thing is, when you start preparing for IVF, there are a lot of things that, your doctor will talk to you about. Your diet, limitations, consumption of alcohol, smoking. But one of the biggest things that they will tell you is to control your stress level. Stress levels can have a big impact on your IVF process, and they always say to kind of eliminate stress from your life. One of the things that they told me is to seek something that will reduce any kind of stress, whether that's yoga, meditation, acupuncture, anything, cupping, anything that will help you manage your stress, because in IVF is a stressful process. There's so much unpredictability. The need or want to have a child is something very personal. So obviously it's going to stress you out. And so I decided to start acupuncture. And honestly, it was the best thing ever. Not just to manage my stress, but I used to not be able to sleep in general, and that increased during my IVF process. But when I would go for my acupuncture sessions, I would just be so calm. I would just sleep off. So it was 1 hour of uninterrupted sleep. And, Dr. Den, my acupuncturist, she was great. She would make the room very warm and cozy and nice with some meditative music. And I would just fall asleep. I had the fear of needles, but honestly, it doesn't pain at all. So acupuncture is honestly a great option, and a lot of fertility doctors will recommend you do your acupuncture. I started my acupuncture during my IVF and before my transfer. I also had a few sessions after my transfer, and that really, really helped me. So definitely recommend managing your stress levels and seeking acupuncture, yoga, meditation, anything that kind of helps you manage that. Next thing is support groups. Like I said, I didn't know many friends who were going through the IVF process. So I did not have anybody to talk to, and the process was very isolating because I thought only I was, going through that process, and it was hard. Kaushik was a great support system. My parents, my in-laws, my sister, they were all amazing support system. But it is important to find someone you can chat with. It makes you feel so much better, right? So I started seeking out support groups and started reading different kind of posts and connecting with people. And I would say it has its pros and cons. The pro is that you can find a lot of people similar in your journey, and it's just comforting to know you're not alone. But the cons are that when you go online, you also see a lot of negativity. You see a lot of worst case scenarios, and IVF as a process, you need to have a positive mindset. But when you read cases that are unsuccessful or that have had issues, it's important to be aware, but at the same time, it could increase your stress levels a little bit. So my team told me not to go online and read any posts, but connect with 1 or 2 friends who could listen to me. So I had a few friends I spoke to. My nurses and my doctor were my biggest champions, so I spoke a lot to them. But find that group of people you can trust and you can talk to without any judgments, because you will need some kind of support. If you want to join an online community, that's great, but just be mindful that if it's stressing you out, you need to leave that. The next point is just the whole IVF process, right? You'll hear so many do's and don'ts from different people, things that work for them, things that didn't work for them. And because it's for a lot of people, it's the only hope, right? And we'll do anything to make the process successful. So you will hear a lot of old wives' tale, and I as well indulge in a lot of those things. Some of the things you hear is eat the pineapple core, have raspberries, have coconut water, have Brazil nuts, all sorts of things. Have French fries after your transfer, after your retrieval. You hear all these things, and there is no harm in indulging in it because it doesn't harm you. But it's important to keep in mind that it may not work for everyone, because if it worked, your doctors would be recommending you that. So read all these old wives' tales, but take it with a pinch of salt because sometimes there's no fact to it. Things that I did was I did eat a lot of raspberries before my transfer because I heard it helps with the lining. But I've heard people who have eaten it and it doesn't help. But there's no scientific basis to it. McDonald's French fries is another one people say to have. But again, no scientific basis to it. So when it comes to diet, you want a balanced diet. I think that's very important. All doctors will tell you have a balanced diet. There's a book called It Starts With an Egg, which you can read. It kind of talks about a Mediterranean diet, which helps with a lot of fertility. In my case, I just ate what I felt like eating, but in balance, in moderation. I did not cut off junk completely. Of course, I left alcohol. I never smoked or anything, so that wasn't an issue, but cut alcohol completely. Again, doctors are okay with having it in moderation, and I did have it once in a while, but for the most part of it, I did not. But I try to have a balanced diet and in between indulge in junk. I think the word I'm saying is balance. I think that's important. And when it comes to specific diets, always check with your doctor. I think that's very, very important. And the last thing I would say is give yourself the grace. It's a taxing process. It's a long process. It's a painful process. But it's a process that if it works out will give you a lot of happiness. So be patient, and if things don't work out, give yourself the grace, give yourself the break, and be kind to yourself. Be kind to your partner, both of you. If you are single or if you're in a couple, just be kind to yourself and to each other. I think it's very, very important because the process can be very taxing. So these are some of the things that really, really helped me in my IVF process. And, I learned so much along the way. More than anything, it taught me the humane side of life. I became a more empathetic person. I self-reflected a lot, and I think the overall process just changed me for the better. So, I just thought I'll share some of these points for you, and if you have any questions, definitely connect with me on Instagram and DM me, and I'm happy to talk to you with it. My DMs are always, always open. And hopefully in the next few videos, you'll see more updates on how the transfer went, how the retrieval and everything. I'll go into detail in each video. Like I said, I have to make many parts because everything has so much information to share. But I hope this was useful, and I will see you in the next video. Till then, lots of love.